Okay.
All right, well, welcome to the camp of, this whole camp here, we are the second company, Hess Castle Jaeger Corp. We are light infantry riflemen. I've got 4 weapons here I'm going to talk about. One of them is strictly British, is not used by us, so I can't give you a whole lot of info on it. But this is a British Fusil. It is supposed to be on the order of a carbine. It's a scaled down version of the Brown Bess. It's a little shorter, a little lighter, and it's a smaller caliber than the Bess. This was supposed to be, I'm guessing, a more compact weapon for them. And you can still see it's still big. Now, as I said, I'm a German Jaeger. This is a German Jaeger rifle. Now, Jaegers were unique in the fact that we carried our own personal weapons. We did not carry a government-issued gun. The only requirement for it was that it be at least 54 caliber. So there was a range of calibers, 54, 58, 62, 65. Our Captain Ewald's was an 82 caliber. They could be as plain or as fancy as you could afford. If you wanted, and it could afford brass inlays or design stitched into the barrel, you could do it. It's strictly what you could afford. And this is the low end. I don't have a lot of money. 54 caliber, very plain weapon. Nothing fancy about it at all. But as I said, this is a rifle. So the inside of the barrel has the grooves and the cuts in it. We're going to hit what we aim at, 400, 450 yards. Unlike a smoothbore musket that has pretty much no range at all if you know anything at all about muskets. So next we've got blunderbuss. These were developed as a carriage or coach gun. Person riding security on the coaches against highway robbers. The idea being, it was short, it was compact, wide barrel was for ease of loading. It had nothing to do with the spread pattern. The idea being that you're on top of the carriage, the robbers are chasing you, the driver's whipping the horses, you're going up, down, left, right, all over the place. Brace this on the roof of the carriage, pull it between your knees while you're bouncing all over, pack your powder and bowl down, turn and fire. Probably would want to look at where you're actually aiming or pointing it, but I mean, if need be, you could just do it this way. Wouldn't recommend it, but it's designed for ease of firing. And then gradually it fell into, pirates began to like it, military finally adapted it. It was used by both armies and navies. Again, this is a shotgun. It's a close quarters weapon. It's not for a wide open battlefield unless you're really in close to your opponent. But we carried these on patrol. We carried several of these with each patrol that went out. We carried 37 ball in the barrel, a mixture of 32 and 50 caliber ball backed by 240 grains of powder. So when it went off, very devastating at close range. It was also sounded very similar to a 3-pound cannon when it fired. And then last but not least, we've got this one, shoulder-fired mortar. Fires a 2-pound cast iron grenade about the size of a tennis ball. Now these had a range of about 250 yards. They had pretty much, though they had fallen into obsolescence as far as ground warfare goes by the time the revolution started, because the ground mortar had been developed on a carriage, on wheels, have a horse pull it. bigger shell, bigger distance, so nobody was using these. But the Royal Navy still carried these on their ships because they were great for pinning down lob grenades onto the deck of an enemy vessel as they closed in, came alongside of it to let the Marines board the ship. Now, when Cornwallis landed at Johns Island, start his advance on Charlestown, we figured that they might come in handy. We borrowed a bunch of these from the Navy. We used them during the siege of Charlestown, and understand that with siege, we're talking trench warfare. So the trenches are slowly being dug. You're zigzagging closer and closer to the city walls. Range on this, about 250 yards. So once we got in range, we started lobbing grenades over the wall. So understand now, I'm below ground. I'm in a trench. So I'm going to prime my pan, put my powder in the barrel, get into position. My loader is going to put the grenade in the barrel and light the fuse. I can't see the fuse. I can barely see the loader, but I can see him. So once the fuse is lit, he ducks. I can see him duck. If there's too much noise, I might not hear him tell me that the grenade's lit. I want to know the grenade's lit. I got a 2-pound bomb burning 8 inches from my nose. So I can see him duck, that's my cue to fire. Grenade launches, everything's fine. Grenade doesn't launch, I don't have time to figure out why, what went wrong. I gotta get rid of this. So what they did at Charlestown was they tie a rope to the trigger guard, stake it in the bottom of the trench. Oops, doesn't fire. The whole thing was chunked out. The barrel in this weighs 22 pounds. It is automatically gonna upend. Grenade's gonna fall out. Wait for the grenade to explode. Take the rope, pull it back into the trench, clean it up, and try it again. Give it a second shot. That's it.